We're here tonight in the Boars Head in Dublin, and it's all with thanks to Guinness 00. 100% Guinness, 0% alcohol. More social occasions off the GA pitch are yours for the taking. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by one of GA's all-time greats, Kerry legend Jack O'Shea. Jack, great to have you here. All-Ireland final week. It's an exciting time, especially exciting if you're a Kerry man.
Yeah, we're not used to these All-Ireland so early in the year, so it being July, I suppose, is a bit unusual in that. But yeah, it's a fantastic weekend, something to look forward to. And I'm sure everybody in the country are looking forward to the games. My own personal feeling is that I think the whole thing has been rushed a bit through because of the championship being pushed so condensed so much together. Because I think there's a lot of people lose out on the build up to the finals. I know from coming from Kerry that particularly counties outside of Dublin would appreciate the 3 and 4 weeks build up to a match and up to a final, up to a semi-final and on to the final. And a lot of kids lose out as well, the whole novelty of building up to an All-Ireland final. So I think there's a little bit of that missing, but not taken away from the players. Sure, the players' minds on Sunday, and it'll be something to look forward to.
And I suppose the argument to that is then, I suppose some of the players would say they're happy enough they're away now on their holidays, the lads that have been knocked out, and then they get back to their clubs. Do you see that side of things too?
I think a lot of the clubs might suffer actually, because I think a lot of lads will go away playing in America and that, and I know they can go to Chicago, Boston and San Francisco, wherever they want to go, or maybe further afield. And I think a lot of the clubs might even suffer in that respect, so it'll be interesting to see how the club championship goes from here on in as well after the weekend.
And where will you watch the final now on Sunday?
Well, I'm hoping to get to Croke Park. I might win 2 tickets here tonight in the raffle, so I might be lucky enough.
Well, if you can't get tickets now.
It's actually, there's a thing in Kerry that if you are a holder of an All-Ireland medal, if Kerry get into a final, you get the option of buying 2 tickets for that final, for that game. So something there'll be a lot of tickets to be handed out in Kerry.
So how many tickets do you get then? How many did you win? 7?
No, you only get 2. It doesn't matter how many you win. Yeah.
So bringing it back to growing up in Kerry, what was it like for you? Was your family a mad GA family, or how did it all begin?
No, I think what got me into football really, my house was right opposite the football pitch in Carsavine. When I was growing up, I had the privilege of being ball boy for Mick O'Dwyer and Mick O'Connell. They used to come to Carsavine 2 or 3 times a week to go. That time, back in the 60s and the 70s, teams and counties teams didn't actually get together very much. They probably got together once every fortnight, and a lot of the training was done kind of individually in that. And Mick O'Connell, Mick O'Dwyer used to come into Carsavine to train, and I used to be their ball boy. They used to train actually. They used to spend about an hour and a half kicking, and the kicking would range from 50 yards, 60 yards into 10 yards. And I picked up a lot of tips from Mick O'Connell in that respect. And one of the ones that always stood to me, and which I always did in the training session, was he stood away from me one day and he kicked the ball at me, and he said, "You can't catch it like that." He said, "You have to be able to catch it like that." And all through my career, I was fortunate enough to be trained by Ó Muircheartaigh in Dublin, and every night after training, Micheál would kick 20-25 balls at me, and I would catch them like that. And that was one of the things I took from their training things.
So they don't want it to hit into your chest. You have to sort of be able to.
You wanted your hands to be able to grab the ball,
As
so
it's going, yeah.
Well, that's easy to do it there, It's much harder to do it out there. So that was one of the things I picked up, yeah. And
you mentioned Ó Muircheartaigh, so when you're playing for Kerry, you're based in Dublin, so he actually trained you up in Dublin?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have, I actually played Kerry minor in 1975, and Kerry won the All-Ireland Senior in 75 as well. So I was full forward in the minor team in 1975. I was also full forward on the under-21 team that won the All-Ireland. We beat Dublin in Clonmel the same year. And then I was under-21, 76, 77, and I made my senior debut in the All-Ireland semi-final in 77. So I was only 19, I think, and I was up against Brian Mullins, and I'll never forget in the second half there was a ball kicked out by Paddy O'Mahony. He was in goal at the time, and I said, "I have this one now," and I eyed the ball up and I went to catch it, and as I went up to get the ball, Brian Mullins came from behind and hit me, and I went about 5 yards that way. So I knew I wasn't strong enough at that stage for the big competition that was there between Kerry and Dublin at the time. So I was based in Dublin, and Ó Muircheartaigh used to look after all the Kerry players in Dublin, the training sessions. And there was a lot of other county players actually train with us as well. We even had Joe Brawley training with us. We had fellas from Mayo, fellas from different counties all over the country train with us. We had used to have up to about 15 to 20 people, and we trained out in Belfield. And it was very competitive to training, and I think that the lads that trained with us realised how much it did take to get fit at that time,
And what was Micheál like? Obviously we know him as the GA commentator, and when he gets into his stories,
Micheál is a phenomenal person. Like, they talk about psychologists in the game today, but I had the best psychologist of all time when I was a player. Micheál, as we all know, is so relaxed. He's so easy to listen to. He's so convincing when he talks. Everything goes in there and stays in there, you know. So he always prepared, you know, even though the other county players were playing with us, they listened to the same words as he did, right? But when he got talking to you kind of personally on it, he always convinced you that he used to always really convince me that I was never as fit as I am now, that kind of position. I was always leaving his training sessions or leaving his training before a big match, knowing that I had done everything. I was in good a shape as I could be. I was in good form and the whole lot. So psychologically, he had me really relaxed for the game, and that's the way I approached it.
And isn't that one of the biggest battles in the game nowadays, like mentally? Like with Kerry against Dublin, that was a mental thing maybe to be able to get over them.
See, there's a load of things, like an All-Ireland final is a huge big occasion. Like I always say to young people and young players or county players, there's only 30 people in this country get the chance to walk behind the band next Sunday. And if you're one of those 30, it's a unique and a privilege. And like, to get there is a huge achievement. So when you get to a situation like that, you have to be able to take the whole day in. It's not just the actual match itself, it's the lead up to the game. You can burn yourself out leading up to the game. Lots of players, I played with players who were in superb shape, and they got to the final and they froze or something, you know, the whole occasion went by them. So I think it's very important that, I'll just give you an example of what I did. What do you think I did the morning of an All-Ireland final? It was totally different back our time. Like, I used to live in Dublin. The Kerry team would come up on the Saturday night, 6:30 train. They would go to Malahide. I would drive out to Malahide about 8 o'clock. I'd meet up with all the players. Then we go for a team meeting. And our team meetings were held down at the beach in Malahide, sitting on a wall, 30 fellas, whatever, I think 26 at the time, sitting along a wall, pitch dark, couldn't see me because they were, and he out in front of us talking. That was our team meeting. That was the only meetings we ever had. We were never brought into a room to be saw blackboards or charts or whatever, nothing like that. Then the morning I would always make sure I never went to bed too early before the final, right? Because I knew myself, if I went to bed too early, I'd be, you know, you'd be thinking too much. So I didn't go to bed till about 12 o'clock. This is my routine before an All-Ireland final. I would have a cup of tea and a sandwich, maybe about 10 or 11 o'clock. Then I'd go to bed. I'd sleep until about 7, half 7 in the morning. I'd get up probably about 8:30. And then what I used to do every Sunday morning, every All-Ireland, before every All-Ireland I played, I went and I played 18 holes of pitch and putt.
Wow.
Yeah, and what I used to do is I used to bring the younger players on the panel, usually the subs or the younger lads, they'd come with me and we'd have a great crack. So my whole mind was taken off the game completely, that we were out playing pitch and putt, game of pitch and putt, having the crack with the Dublin supporters, and that was the way I led myself into the game. So then I would come back to the hotel about probably about 11, 12 o'clock. We'd have a cup of tea and a sandwich, and then we'd head into Croke Park. Now, I never went in the bus to Croke Park because I was driving my own car to Malahide. I travelled in myself. And John Egan, Charlie Nelligan and Tommy Doyle always came with me. And John Egan used to have a friend, this is true, John Egan used to have a friend, he was from Cork, and he used to come with us in the car, and he used to sing songs the whole way from Malahide to Croke Park. All the way in the car. And I used to drive in under the Hogan stand and park my car there. I'd walk into the dressing room. Everybody in the Kerry team at that time sat in the same place. Like, I used to sit there, Mikey SHEA was next to me. We just sat in our own place every time. I'd throw my bag there, I'd go out of the dressing room, I'd go up to the top deck of the Hogan stand. I'd watch the first half of the minor match, maybe halfway into the second half. I'd come down, I'd tug out. You know, some of the Paddy O'Shea would be inside in the toilet, lashing the ball off the wall, and bumping into pillars and all that sort of stuff. John Egan would be sitting over in the corner with reading the newspaper. Like, he was a very laid back fella as well. And then the thing I always loved doing, and a lot of players maybe don't like doing it, I love walking behind the band, and just relaxing. You know, this is where I want to be. There's a great story told about me actually that a lot of Kerry managers have used it since, saying that when I woke up on the Sunday morning and if I drew back the curtains and it was lashing rain, I used to room with Charlie Nelligan, I would say, this is the day I wanted. Lashing rain, I just love the rain anyhow. But lashing rain, love playing in the rain. Lashing rain, oh, this is the day I wanted. And the next year I'd wake up, I'd pull back the curtains, the sun was shining, right? And I'd say, this is the day I wanted. Because that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
That was my target at the beginning of the year. That's what I wanted to get to. And, make the best of it. So my lead up was, I was totally focused on what I wanted to do, and I didn't think about the match until about maybe 15, 20 minutes beforehand.
Well, if you went playing the pitch and putt, you obviously didn't let the occasion faze you whatsoever.
Yeah.
You weren't thinking about injury or anything like that?
No, I was very fortunate. I think I played for Kerry for 17 years, and I think I never picked up an injury. I can never say, I think I missed one match in 17 years between league and championship.
What do you think the difference is? Did you have recovery or?
No, I never went to a gym in my life. I was naturally fit. I didn't drink. I looked after myself. If I got a knock, and I lived in League Slip for the first 8 years of my playing career, and I'd say I drove to Kerry every second weekend to play a club match, if not every weekend sometimes. So I often left League Slip at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning to go play a club match in Carsabeen, which was 4.5 hours drive, play the match, get into my car and drive home again. I wouldn't be home until 12 o'clock.
And you never pulled a hamstring after all that driving?
Mick O'Dwyer told me I had no hamstrings. Never pulled a hamstring, never pulled a muscle. I was very fortunate, I had a son then who played with Kerry in 2009, and Aidan, he won an All-Ireland medal in 2009. Fantastic player. He actually got a groin problem, and he's never played ever since. Mm-hmm. So you can be fortunate and unfortunate, so I was lucky.
And when you look back at some of those memories now, are they just best days of your life?
Yeah, there's something you can't take away. I stand in Croke Park and say, I've been there, I've done that. And I've made some fantastic friends. I've been all over the world. I represented Ireland, Australia. I've been everywhere in America playing. I've achieved everything that I wanted to set out to achieve. And I was fortunate, you don't win these things on your own. I was around at the right time, great team with me, great players, very committed. And we had a fantastic time, yeah. And there's some fabulous memories, yeah. It's great characters with us as well, of course, yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel the lead up for the current teams now at the minute would be extremely different. I don't think we'd see the likes of Damien Comer or Seamus out having pitch and putt the morning of the final.
No, that's what I mean. It's totally different now. I used to walk into an All-Ireland final, we'd say, against Dublin, and the Dublin players were often walking in alongside us. We were chatting going into the games and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's totally different now. Do I agree with it? I don't know, do the fellas playing now enjoy it as much? Or do they get as much enjoyment? We had a huge rapport as well with the supporters. We used to play Munster finals in Killarney. We'd be in the Park Place Hotel having a few sandwiches before the match, and we'd walk with the supporters up to the game. They go up in the stand, we go into the dressing room. So I thought the supporters and the players were much closer together in our time. And I thought it was enjoyable then. And you had more interaction, so I don't know, if you see a county player now, if you see him once or twice a year, the only days you see him is on the pitch. So I think they're kind of hidden away a bit too much, but that's the way things are going. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the sandwiches. You didn't have a dietitian back then either, I don't think.
No, I used to have a steak, onions and chips and milk after every training session. That was our diet. So I don't know. I often think, the team I was playing on, if we were doing the same training the team today were, how fit would we have got, or where we have gone to? People say the game is much faster now. It probably is probably is quicker now. But I think there's a lot of the game is missing as well. And there's 2 or 3 things in Gaelic football that I would love to return to. And number one of the biggest things that we left go was the sideline kick off the ground. Because I think the sideline kick off the ground would have to be kicked forward. Nowadays you see a sideline kick at the 14-yard line up here and it ends up back with the goalkeeper. I think when you had the sideline kick off the ground, you were creating a contest.
Yeah.
Another contest. In our time, I played midfield, right? My main responsibility was that I had to contest every ball that dropped in between the 2 50-yard lines. That was my job on a kick out. Shawnee Welch, myself, whoever was midfield with me, our job was to contest those 2 lines. Our other job was when we were supposed to be the link from our defence to our attack. You make yourself available when our defenders get the ball so you can use the ball up the field again. And then the other thing was when we lost possession, we automatically became defenders. Mm-hmm. And the game has changed so much, so that's one of the things. The other thing, I still think that the kick out, having to go, we say, beyond the 50-yard line should be back as well, because there's nothing greater to watch than someone flighting up and catching a ball at full stretch And I think that contest, if you take the two semi-finals, was there 5 kick-outs kicked to the middle of the field to be caught?
Yeah.
Maybe a small bit more now, it's changing a small bit. But in the Derry Galway match, there was very few kick-outs. Same with the Dublin Kerry game. You'd love to see the likes of Brian Fenton, David Moore contesting the ball together. You know, that was a beautiful part of the game, in my opinion. So that's another thing I'd like to see introduced.
Well, they obviously brought in the mark to encourage that, but
yeah, but I don't think marking a ball 2 foot off the ground is marking a ball. You know, I think a marking a ball should be strictly over the head.
And what do you think of the mark, say, giving it into the forward line?
I think it's too easy. Makes it too easy for forwards.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I think when you were being coached when you were young as a forward, the first thing you were told to do when you got the ball in your hand was drop your shoulder and take on your opponent. I think that's missing a bit now as well. And
that's what supporters love to watch. Take on your man. Yeah. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Like back, we'd say the 70s, whatever we'd play, when our team were playing. When you were in possession, you wanted to score, at least kill the ball on the other far side. Nowadays, like, it's taking so long to get the ball up the field. Like, let's face it, I'm not going to criticise it, but the Derry Galway semi-final first half was so hard to watch. And, you know, I think everybody would agree. Like, there's 4 points each at half time. Like, we like a bit of excitement. Like, you take the hurling, for instance. Like, the hurling can change so quick in such a short time. So I just think that you know, they'll have to do something either keeping 3 players beyond the 50-yard line all the time or whatever, because I think there's too much defensive coming into it now at this stage.
We will.
And wouldn't you like? Everybody likes to see the best players like Shane Walsh, David Clifford. We love to see them fellas getting forward and, you know, taking somebody on. But if there's 15 fellas in front of them, it doesn't make it easy.
No. But even for the cornerbacks or the halfbacks, what they're good at is defending. So, you know, it takes away what they're good at if they're able to just go mark, you know.
Yeah, that's
it takes it away.
Like, you can have a great game today without touching the ball. You can be very effective in a Gaelic match, and like, to me that's not Gaelic.
No.
You know.
And we're going to get into the game itself. We'll preview it a little bit in the next 10 minutes or so. But just bringing it back to your own playing days just for a minute. Mick O'Dwyer, what was he like?
Mick O'Dwyer was a real strict manager, and I think his greatest attribute was he was a fantastic manager. He could, if Mick O'Dwyer wanted to get a message to me, he would never say it directly to me. He'd get somebody else to pass the message on or do it in another way, you know. So he had great. No, I must say that there was tough men in our team, and there was fellas who really enjoyed themselves when they had to. But when it came to the championship, these lads used to go off the drink. Like the likes of Paddy O'Shea now and Tim Killelly and these fellas, they were Paddy Lynch, they liked a few drinks in that. But they used to go off the drink for the championship. And okay, they have a drink after playing the big match, the match was over and all that. But, you know, Miko was a disciplinarian, like, you had to be disciplined. And there was lots of very good footballers didn't make it in our time in Kerry because they wouldn't be committed enough. And Miko just, you know, you needed commitment. And he had no great secret in his training, only he got the best out of everybody. And I think he proved that when he went to Kildare, when he went to Laois, when he went to Wicklow. What did he do there? He improved their fitness levels. He got them focused more, he got them more, you know, get the winning frame of mind into them, and belief. And he had a great ability to make you believe.
That's one of the things in his documentary, that you see some of the mad runs he made you do up hills and mountains.
Well, lucky enough I was in Dublin, I didn't do a lot of that. But,
you got away with it.
I got away with it. But what I used to do actually, before we'd say the All-Ireland semi-final, I would go to Kerry for a week. And we would train 6 days in that week, like when we'd be all together. But there was no secret really. Like, we didn't have any tactics playing back then. Like, the one tactic we had was we hit the space, and we were hoping that we would be able to be the first to that space. So it was just like, his main policy was when you would lose the ball, we're 15 defenders, when we have the ball, we're 15 attackers.
So for you from midfield, what was your tactic going out into midfield? Did you have any game plan?
Well, I don't want to feel pompous now saying this, but I never went onto a pitch to mark anybody. Never went onto the pitch to mark anybody. I always said they're going to have to mark me. No, that's not being bullshitty or whatever, but that was my philosophy. That was what I wanted. I said if he's going to beat me, he has to mark me. He's going to have to come with me. So, like, you just have to be kind of confident within yourself to get out there and believe you can do it, and believe that. I always felt there was always someone better, but I always felt that I would make it as hard as I could on them. So I never left the dressing room to actually mark anybody. I always left the dressing room to leave 100% on the pitch. There's very few times I walked off a field I would say that I wasn't, happy with what maybe not what I've done on the day, but the amount of effort I put in. So I was always kind of willing to do that. And I think, and you go back to my injury thing, I think that was the same thing. Whether I played challenge games, training, championship games, league games, I treated them all the same way. And I think that kind of stood to me in my fitness levels.
And is there an All-Ireland in particular that stands out for you?
I suppose winning your first one is always the best in 78. And at one stage in 78, I think we were 5 or 6 points down. Dublin were in front and they were dictating the game. And the whole game turned around. Bomber ended up getting 3 goals that day, and that was a big day, winning your first one. But I suppose then when you were growing up, you kind of always wanted to play in All-Ireland, want to score a goal in All-Ireland, and I suppose I crowned that with getting the goal in 81. So, but they're all very special, because no matter what final you win, it could be your last one. So they're all very special, you know. So I was fortunate. I played in 8 senior finals and I won 7, so didn't do bad.
And what about that one you lost? It was when you were going for the
5 in a row, yeah.
5 in a row.
Derby, yeah.
Awfully, wasn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's something like I lost lots of games in my career much the same way at club level or whatever game. So like, it happened at the wrong time for us on the wrong day. But these things happen in games. But I would have to say that Offaly team we played in the 82 final, in 1980, I think the score was 4-11 to 4-15 semi-final. 1981, we beat them, like there was a couple of points in when I got the goal near the end, so that we beat them in 81. So they were a team that were really coming and building. And I think they deserved an All-Ireland. And probably one of the greatest players I ever played against, Matt Connor. He played that semi-final in 1980 and he scored 2 goals and 9 points. You take that, what the Galway scored in the semi-final, 2-8. Matt scored 2-9 that day. Galway scored 4-11, Matt scored 2-9 and Jerry Carroll scored 2-1.
Wow.
So they only had 2 scores. But they were a phenomenal team.
Yeah.
And I think Eugene McGee was a very good manager, because over the 2 years he was plotting our downfall. Like, we played him in challenge games, we played him in different things, but the team he played in 1980 and the team that beat us in 82, there was a lot of changing. There was fellas who had played in the half forward line were brought back to the half back line. So he plotted our downfall really, and I think, like, we lost, it was disappointing. I think as a player you don't take a 5 in a row, you want to win this All-Ireland. So that's all done for history, but it's never forgotten. That's the only thing.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm often reminded of that.
Yeah, does it haunt you, or no? You're happy enough with your 7?
No. I'm happy enough. The only when I see Brendan Lowry in the ad and he's the medal in his hand, I say, that's my medal he has.
Oh, well, we'll look through then to Galway versus Kerry. Kerry obviously best Dublin in the semi-final. They needed to get over them. Sean O'Shea, 50th minute. Tricky win, last kick of the game. Unbelievable. Yeah,
phenomenal kick. And it's funny, I think Sean he was never really much a free taker when he was young. And he kind of started doing the free taking. He's developed it, and let's face it, it was a phenomenal kick under the pressure that he was under. Did Kerry deserve to win? I think they just about did. People say that Kerry probably folded a little bit when the pressure came on in the second half. But I thought it was basically a couple of mistakes Kerry made that left Dublin back into it. And let's face it, Dublin have been fantastic over the last 8 to 10 years. And you were always expecting Dublin. I always expected Dublin to come back. You weren't going to lie down. And they got the goal from Costello, and they were on a roll then. And Kerry were in a rocky place, let's face it. And I think Dublin had the chance to win with Scully's kick that time. If he had kicked that over the bar, I think Kerry mightn't have come back. And there'd be a lot of questions asked in Kerry. But this Kerry team were unfortunate to lose to Ireland, in my opinion, the last couple of years. And they were good enough to win. I feel they're back there now again. And they're up against a very tricky opposition. Galway are a very good team, and I don't expect it to be. I think it'll go down to the wire again. But I think Kerry have been there in a good tight position. It's funny actually, Kerry have been in tight positions for a few years, and they failed to cross it a couple of times, but they did this time. I think that'll make a big difference to them. On the other hand, I think Galway have been very good. You know, they were good against Mayo.
Yeah.
They were.
Armagh.
Well, the Armagh game, I think they had it sealed, but again they made a couple of stupid mistakes.
They could have won it in normal time.
Could have won it in normal time. But I think they showed great character, and they were asked a lot of questions, and they stood up, and they got through that one. And I thought the last day against Derry, there was questions. You know, I think they had a very good game plan. The last day, they kind of. Pádraig Joyce was very interesting in his interview after, and he said you don't win a game in the first half. So I think he was, and I think the same might happen next weekend. That Galway will want to stay in the game in the first half, not allow Kerry chances, and hope for the best in the second. That's my opinion. And
for Kerry to finally get over Dublin, it felt like it was a mental thing as well, to be able to do it.
It's huge, yeah, because there's huge rivalry there's great rivalry between Kerry and Dublin, but it's a huge rivalry as well within the players, and I'm sure the Dublin players are very disappointed they got beaten. So, you know, I suppose when a team are so dominant for such a long time, you know, who's going to be the ones to stop them and whatever. So I think it's a huge plus for Kerry what they did, but I think I heard someone saying that when they got into the dressing room after, Jack O'Connor was saying a few words, and he said he can go and have a few points tonight, and the first thing the lads said was nobody was going having a few points. So I think I think these lads would be very hurt if they don't win this one, and I think this could be the making or the breaking of this team, and if they win on Sunday, I think we'll be looking for them for a few years.
Yeah, it feels a bit like now or never with them.
I think it is, and I think, you know, if I was one of the Kerry players at the moment, I would be saying it's a long way back to your next All-Ireland final. So, you know, when you get the chance, do your best, and if you can, all you can do is 100%. If you give it 100% and give it all your all, if the result, we were always said the result will look after itself.
Yeah. I was down speaking to a few of the players just, you know, ahead of the game, and Tyke Morley, he said about Sean O'Shea that when they got into the dressing room after, you know, they brought him back down to earth. They just straight away were like talking about the penalty miss.
Yeah.
They're like, and I think that's important because they said you don't get any medals for an All-Ireland semi-final.
No. And these lads have been playing now together for quite a while, you know, since underage and that, and this is a big opportunity for them. But likewise for Galway, you know, like it's a long way back for both teams, and a lot can happen for the next 12 months. You could get injured, you could do anything could happen, and you know, you have to be ready to take that chance and opportunity when you get it.
And it's almost expected now of Kerry to go on and win it when you have Galway coming through.
Yeah, well,
underdogs.
I also think that both teams, both Kerry and Galway, in the next 3 or 4 years, we can see that Armagh are coming. Mayo, I think, will be a lot better next year with the two forwards that were out injured this year back. Tyrone will try to make a comeback again. Derry, I think, will learn from this year, and they'll be a tougher opponent. So I think next year's champions will be very, very interesting. Dublin won't go away.
No, never.
So I think that you know, the present one is the one to win.
So where is it going to be won and lost?
Where is it going to be won and lost?
Well, Galway, they're quite defensive. They set up defensively. This is what they brought in this year. It's working for them.
They've actually some very, very good players, and in defence, like they have Sean Kelly, he's a fabulous player. I've been really impressed with the Dylan McHugh.
Yeah.
And I think he's a very, very good player. Jack Daly's done very well. His son of Val's, who I played with in Australia, he's a very, very good player as well. I think Galway have had the best midfield pairing all year in Paul Conroy and Killian McDade.
Yeah.
I think Killian McDade has been really, really good and looks better in every game I see him. And I think they have a fantastic partnership. Like if I was picking two midfield all-stars in the morning, they'd be my two of the game championship has been played. I think that, you know, over 70 minutes in a match in all games, they've been there.
Yeah.
And thereabouts. And then up front, of course, they have Shane Walsh. Who doesn't like to watch Shane playing? He's a fabulous player. And then they have Damien Comer. Damien Comer's Damien Comer. There's two Damien Comers. When he's good, he's very, very good. And I hope he isn't very good the weekend.
Yeah, he peaked definitely in the semi-final.
Yeah, he was very good, yeah. He was... he worked really hard in the first half, but he's a real powerful man, you know.
So powerful.
Yeah, so I think that he's a big threat. So the matchups will be very interesting, actually. Who do I expect to pick up? Shane Walsh. I think Tom O'Sullivan will. Because I think Shane Walsh does a lot of running, and that Tom O'Sullivan loves to go forward. So I think Kerry will send him after him and try to punish Galway when he does go out the field. Who'll pick up Damien Comer? I think Jason Foley will pick up. Then you have Keane O'Neill, of course, with Galway as well, which is a huge thing, you know, because he's been with Kerry as well, so he's going to have a good vision of what Kerry are about.
What about the midfield? Conroy is their playmaker.
Yeah,
Do you mark him?
It all depends who's Kerry are going to pick at midfield.
Yeah.
Kerry, I actually think Kerry have more options than Galway from the teams they're going to start. I think Kerry could start 3 or 4 different teams. I think that is Gavin White ready to play?
Doesn't look like it. We don't know. He's walking on his leg.
If he's missing, he's going to be a huge loss to Kerry.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't play, I think Kerry have 3 or 4 different options, even outside of Paul Murphy, outside of using. They could bring in Killian Spillane.
He's brilliant.
I think the thing that Jack O'Connor has done since he's come in this year, he has blooded about 21, 22 players into match day fitness. And I think at the end of the day, if you ask me what's the difference with Kerry and Dublin at the moment, I would say it's the bench. I think Kerry have a lot of options to come off the bench. And I think David Clifford's exceptional. I think he's probably the best finisher I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, I would class him as the best. When he gets the ball in his hand, he's able to do anything.
Yeah.
He's unmarketable. He's unpredictable. Like he gets some phenomenal scores. And I even like
the tightest angle.
He's doing this like since he was about 14 or 15. He's not doing it this year or last year. Like he's just. Remember the last time they played Galway? Remember the time he drew the ball back like a soccer drawback and he left the defender fly past him and he chipped it into the goal. He's so talented, and I think his brother has been a big addition to his party as well. There's a great understanding there. So I do think Kerry have the better forwards. So I think that might sway it.
But what about if Galway set up that defensively? You know, they like to do the long ball in, the quick ball in to hit the likes of Clifford. But what if they can't do that? They packed out the defence.
I think Kerry can kick long range points.
Yeah.
And I think that might stand to them. I think that there's a few Kerry players that didn't have good semi-finals. You know, and they'll be the first to stand up and say it themselves. So I'd be expecting Paul Gainey. I think he's a player that's been playing really, really well. You haven't seen the best of him. We didn't see the best of him in the semi-final, so I think he'll be good. Stephen O'Brien, I think, is due another big game as well. So I think a lot depends what team Kerry pick. So the matchups will be interesting, but I think Kerry just have about enough sway. I'm hoping.
You're hoping, Jeff.
Yeah.
What improvements then have you seen in Kerry this year, say compared to last year? We obviously seen the loss to Tyrone in the semi-final.
Yeah, I think that their defence has, obviously their defence has been working really well. What they're doing in defending is their tackling is as a unit. They're not getting isolated, and I think that will help them. I think that's where the improvement has been really, and I think they're also a year older and they're physically stronger. Like David Clifford's only 22. He won't be 23 until I think this January or something like that. So Sean O'Shea is only 23. Like there's a lot. They're very young. They've been around
a long time. It seems.
So like they never played under 21 because they weren't allowed because they were seniors.
Yeah.
So they missed out on 2 or 3 years of under 21 football, which I think is a disadvantage as well to an A team. Because I think coming through the system from minor to under 21, I think if you're young enough, you should be left play, no matter what the competition is. And I think that gap that's there takes a while. That void takes a while to fill it. As a player and as a physique. So I think these lads are quite young and
their time is coming now.
Well, I think so. I think so.
And obviously then for Galway, Pádraig Joyce on the sideline. He's in 3 years now. He said in his first year he's going to take them to an All-Ireland.
Yeah.
He's done it now after 3, which is so impressive as well.
Very impressive, and I know Pádraig quite well. Lovely fella. He's nephew Billy Joyce, who I played against Billy. So Pádraig is very intelligent. He learns and he listens a lot. I'm not a bit surprised that he's doing well as a manager, because I think he would have a great relationship with players, and I think that having been a player going right through the system yourself, like Pádraig had some very good days with Galway and he had some very disappointing days with Galway, so he's seen both sides and he can pass all that information on to the team. And I think that he has the team working for you. Can see it. They're all I'd say they're all happy to be in there, all happy to be within the group, and he's another tough test to get over the weekend.
Big time.
Yeah.
And so who do you say that you rated as your best midfielders now in the game at the moment?
Well, I thought the two Galway midfielders are the best this year so far.
Wow. Very good.
As a pairing, like.
Yeah. Okay. So out of the whole championship, who would you pick?
I would think like the Glass from Derry.
Yeah, Conor Glass.
Glass. I think the two Galway fellas have been really good. David Moran was very good in the quarter-final.
Brilliant.
Like for the fella who only played his first match in nearly a year, he was very good. So I think the All-Stars are up for grabs.
Do you think David will start?
I think so, yeah.
He has that experience.
Well, I think the experience is vital, and like he's a big man. I think himself and Paul Conroy could match up. I think that experience that David has will get him his spot. Who they'll put with him remains to be seen.
And people would probably regard you as the greatest midfielder ever of all time. How do you feel when you hear things like that?
You're telling me that now, yeah.
I think many people in this room might agree.
I don't know, listen, it's lovely to be spoken about like that. All I can say is that I enjoyed my years playing with Kerry and enjoyed my years playing against all the opponents I had. So, you know, that's another person's opinion to me.
And if I had to ask you three of the best players you ever played with, who would you say?
Outside of Kerry or with Kerry?
Yeah, up to you. You can say.
Put me in the corner. I don't like name. Listen, all my Kerry teammates were fabulous to play with.
I didn't say one, I said three, so I was being nice.
That's a very unfair question now. Get me into trouble. Probably like
some of the best then.
Well, yeah, the player I played with Kerry and probably played with him at county championship level was John Egan. He was a fabulous player. We played county championship with South Kerry together, so we played together for a good few years. I used to always have a sweet spot for Mikey Sheehy. Mikey was a great player. Who else? I suppose my partnership with Shawnee Welsh for 4 years to win 4 All-Irelands.
Wow.
Would be thereabouts as well.
And my last question then for you, Jack, is who do you believe is the best player in the game at the moment?
Best player of the game at the moment? I think it's probably David Clifford.
Feels like we're watching one of the greats.
I think without doubt. I think he's the best finisher I've seen. I would say that. Like I didn't say anything else. I just said I think he's the best finisher. And I think, like everybody here tonight, you and me, we don't know what he's going to do the weekend. So we're in anticipation. Like when he gets the ball, you don't know, is he going to go left or right? Is he going to kick it from 40 yards or is he going to bring it into 10 yards? He's so unpredictable. And he's just a joy to behold. And I think everybody that will be in Croke Park on Sunday will be waiting for him to do something. When he does it, I'm sure they'll be amazed.
Absolutely. And I lied. One more question.
Well,
your prediction. Give me a score if you
think
can.
a score. I think Kerry will win by about 4.
Will they be leading at half time?
I think they will. I think it'll be. I'd be disappointed if Kerry haven't scored 10 points in the first half.
Okay. So Kerry by 4 is what we're going with?
I think Kerry by 4, yeah.
Very good. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this evening. Thanks a million for all coming in this evening. It's all with thanks to Guinness 00, 100% Guinness, 0% alcohol. More social occasions off the GA pitch are yours for the taking. A massive thanks to the Boars Head here in Dublin for having us. And to Kerry legend, Jack O'Shea, it's been a pleasure.
You're embarrassing, you know.